I may not be able to see, but I can smell a bitch a mile away.
What comes to mind for you when you hear the name Jenna Cavanaugh? Maybe the glasses, maybe the cane, maybe you just think like of a villain, maybe you think
Bitch can see.
Regardless, Jenna Cavanaugh is a villain in the Pretty Little Liars TV show. But what if I told you she's literally the opposite in the book series, and she's one of my favorite characters ever, and I wish that we could have gotten more from her. Hey best friend, I'm sure you're shocked to see me so soon. I'm trying to get on a good schedule of uploading every 2 weeks. It was kind of hard when I was doing my like really long book vlogs, but I thought while I'm working on that, I could sprinkle in some Pretty Little Liars videos here and there because I already have some scripts written. So this video is going to be about Jenna Cavanaugh, specifically like what she does in the book series and the kind of character she is and like everything she's involved in. This is also going to be a deep dive into the Jenna Thing, and we're going to talk about some of the differences between the Jenna Thing in the TV show and the Jenna Thing in the book series, because although very similar, there are some really big juicy differences, and I'm so excited to talk about it. This is going to be kind of like a companion video to the Toby Cavanaugh video that I posted almost a year ago now, because obviously they're step siblings, so there was a lot that kind of overlapped, but I was trying to be careful not to talk too much about the Jenna Thing in the Toby Cavanaugh video, just because I wanted to spill all the beans in the Jenna Thing video and the Jenna Cavanaugh video. So that being said, let's get into this juicy story. I'm so fucking pumped to talk about this. Let me know what you want to see next. Some of the scripts I have are the twin switch, which I feel like people are going to be really excited to see, but I've been kind of dying to talk about the first A reveal. I randomly have a script written up about why Tom Marin is the worst dad in the Pretty Little Liars universe. I also kind of want to do that video, so you can request down below which one you want to see next, and I'll try to make it happen. All of them are going to get posted this year though at some point, so subscribe if you want to see that, please. So in the TV show, Jenna Cavanaugh is really out to get the girls. She's super sus in the first couple of seasons, and then by the end, at some point, she literally joins the A-team. I think she dies. Does she die? You guys, I'm so out of touch with like the last couple of seasons and everything that happened. Like, all I can remember from the last couple of seasons is Noel Kahn's head getting chopped off, and I have no recollection of like anything else that happens. I know that like the actress Taman, who played Jenna, was pregnant at some point, and so she like, didn't she like drown? Was she actually dead? I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to like do some research when I'm editing, but okay, Jenna does not actually die. I was thinking about when she drowned, thinking that that was closer to the end of the show, but she is very much alive after that. She survives the near drowning experience. I went into the book series like expecting the Jenna Cavanaugh that we know from the TV show, and it wasn't my first time reading the book series, but when I reread this like 2 years ago, I didn't really remember all the details from when I read it in high school, so I was kind of shocked to see how different of a character she was. Very surprised to find out that she's so sweet, and like surprised to see how much I genuinely loved her and her character development. So let's start with book 1, Pretty Little Liars. We actually aren't introduced to Jenna as a character in this book, but we are introduced to the Jenna Thing. So before we even know who Jenna Cavanaugh is, we know the Jenna Thing, and that made like the introduction to her character even juicier. And like I said, this all goes down a bit differently than it did in the TV show, so make sure to pay attention. I'm gonna read you straight out of the book how the Jenna Thing is introduced, just so we can set the scene, okay? Emily was still wearing her blue string bracelet from 6th grade. Allison had made them for everyone right after the accident the Jenna Thing had happened. Initially, they just wanted to get Jenna's brother Toby. It was supposed to be a prank. After the 5 of them planned it, Allie went across the street to watch Toby's treehouse window, and then it happened. Something horrible happened to Jenna. After the ambulance pulled away from Jenna's house, Spencer discovered something about the accident that none of the other girls ever found out. Toby saw Allie, but Allie saw Toby do something just as bad. He couldn't tell on her because then she would tell on him. Okay, are we getting the picture here? Right off the bat, first book, before we like really learn anything about anything, we're learning about the Jenna Thing. We're learning that Allie had something to do with Jenna's accident. We're learning that Toby did something even more terrible that Allie witnessed. And the most interesting part is that this is like our introduction to it, but it's not even the most truthful summary of what happened. And this Jenna Thing is like sprinkled in throughout so many of the books that you really have to read the series to get the full picture. Not the whole series, but I want to say at least the first 4 books, because if you don't know, Toby Cavanaugh actually dies. But that's it for book 1. It was really just like a teaser into the Jenna Thing before we really delve into the Jenna Thing in book 2 called Flawless. So in Flawless, we learn about Toby, Jenna's stepbrother, in the prologue because he's kind of being painted as the new villain of the series. So he's the one that's very suspicious in the book series in book 2. And kind of like how Jenna was the bad guy in the TV show and Toby was the good guy, we really have like the reversal of roles here. Like Jenna is the victim in the book series and Toby is the creepy one. And it's so interesting how they decided to flip this in the TV show. Like, was it just so that Toby could date Spencer? Does it make a juicier story? I'm not really sure. But here's a snippet of how Toby is introduced. Every town has a black cat boy. In Rosewood, his name was Toby Cavanaugh. Jenna is introduced as the only person that Toby talks to. His stepsister, Jenna, who's in their grade. So Toby's a little bit older than them, but Jenna is their age. Jenna was a hopeless dork as well, although far less creepy. At least she spoke in complete sentences. And she was pretty in an irksome way, with her thick dark hair, huge earnest green eyes, and pursed red lips. The girls, but Allie in particular, really picked on Jenna, and we're gonna get into that too. I do like that, like, her character description is very similar to how she was in the TV show because it made it really easy for me to picture her because I just pictured Tammin basically. Now let's get into the Jenna Thing. Again, this is how it's presented right off the bat, but this is not the full story. We'll start with the basics and then we'll slowly uncover things as they happen. So the girls are having a sleepover. This is pretty much exactly the same way they were having a sleepover in the TV show. They're changing. Toby is caught smirking at them through the window. So this actually does happen. In the TV show, I'm pretty sure Allie says that Toby's watching, but it was a lie. In the books, he was actually a peeping Tom. Like, he was watching them change. Allie is pissed at this and immediately wants to get revenge on Toby. She knows that he's going to be in his treehouse playing video games. So instead of the garage, it's a treehouse. But he always pulls up the ladder with him so no one else can get in the treehouse, so she knows it's going to be difficult to spook him. The plan so far is just to scare him, not to actually hurt anybody. But we know how this is gonna end. She decides that the best plan, obviously, is to freak him out with fireworks. Toby was obsessed with fireworks. He kept a stash of bottle rockets at the base of the tree and often set them off through the treehouse's skylight. We sneak over there, we steal one of the fireworks, we light it at his window, and it's totally gonna freak him out. This is what Allie is saying. The girls are watching from the window as Allie goes over to carry out this plan. Allie ran over to the Kavanaugh's side yard and right up to Toby's treehouse. It was partially obscured by tall elms and pines, but the streetlight illuminated it just enough for them to see a vague outline. A minute later, they were pretty sure they saw Allie holding a cone-shaped firework in her hands, stepping about 20 feet back, far enough so that she had a clear view of the treehouse's window. This is what happens next. They see a light flicker from the treehouse. Spencer decides to crouch behind a bush to get a better look. Paramedics show up and start going into the treehouse, so it's clear someone's injured. Allie comes up behind Spencer. Spencer can see a jagged hole in the treehouse, so not the window, like a jagged hole in the treehouse from where the firework entered. Number 6. A paramedic leaves the treehouse holding someone that at first they think is Toby, but then they realize is Jenna Cavanaugh. Several minutes later, Allie and Spencer came back inside the house. Allie told them what happened in almost an eerie calmness. The firework had gone through the window and hit Jenna. No one had seen her light it, so they were all safe as long as they kept quiet. It was Toby's firework, after all. If the cops would blame anyone, it's gonna be him. I'm not really sure if you can like see the glare in my glasses, but I also can't see without them, so I hope it's not too bad. All night they cried and hugged and went in and out of sleep. When they awoke the next day, the news was all over the neighborhood. Someone had confessed Toby. So clearly there's some missing information here. How do we go from Toby being up in the treehouse with Jenna to Toby confessing to the crime of hurting Jenna with a firework? Very suspicious. All of the girls are confused about this except Allie and Spencer, because they actually share a secret about that night that the rest of the girls don't know. The night of Jenna's accident, Spencer witnessed something that her friends didn't, but Allie made her keep it a secret, even from the other girls. For years, Spencer tried to block out about what had come next. So we're thinking like this is like a flashback. Spencer's like thinking about this, you know, as she's like 16 or 17 or whatever, and she's thinking back to the summer before 8th grade when this happened. She has kept this secret all this time, and it only like comes to light after they start getting stalked by A, like after Allie is already gone. Toby Cavanaugh coming straight for them. So Toby came up to them and said, like, I saw you, Allie. I'm gonna tell what you did. And then she goes, I saw you, and I'm gonna tell your parents. She doesn't say like exactly what he did, so we don't know this right off the bat, but he is really, really upset by this, and he says like, I'm gonna get you, which is the threat. But when he leaves, Allie tells Spencer she saw him do something so disgusting that she had forgotten that she was even holding the firework, and she let it go toward the house by accident. So we're meant to believe that Allie had this plan that she was going to spook Toby, and she saw something through the window that was so disgusting that it wasn't even her fault that she lit the firework through the window, because she didn't mean to do that. It was all because of him. So now she's blaming Toby on it, even though she was the one that did it. So this is not exactly what happened, but the SAing part is true. Jenna was being SA'd by Toby. So like, as you can tell, the dynamic is swapped. In the TV show, Jenna was the one that was like coming on to Toby and like blackmailing him and like saying that she could tell his parents that he was the one doing it to her. In the book, Toby is the one being really, really creepy to Jenna. Jenna ends up going to a special school for the blind in Philadelphia, much like the show, and Toby goes to a reform school in Maine because he is in trouble. Like, everyone thinks that he was the one that lit the firework. In book 2, Flawless, present day now, Hanna is volunteering at Sean's dad's burn clinic. This is because she crashes Sean's dad's car, and like in the show, she ends up working at his mom's dental office, but she's working at his dad's burn clinic in the book series. She learns that Jenna used to be an inpatient there after the accident when she had burns from the fireworks before she went to the school for the blind, and she starts remembering like the history between Allie and Jenna back in like middle school. Allie used to have a nickname for Jenna called Snow, and this was Snow as in Snow White, because Jenna had an annoying resemblance to the Disney character. Hanna thought Jenna looked like Snow White too, but in a good way. Jenna wasn't as polished as Allie, but there was something oddly pretty about her. So Allie clearly had a nickname for everyone. Allie bullied everyone. We're not surprised, but like something about the story specifically of Jenna really like hurts me, and maybe it's just because like she was blinded and her life was completely changed by Allie, but there's just so much more to it I can't wait to talk about. But like when I talked about like the Lucas and Hanna situation, I went into kind of like Lucas's past and Allie calling him a hermaphrodite, and I just didn't feel like as much sympathy for him, but we also don't get as much detail about his past as we do Jenna's past. So book 2, we're already seeing that like Hanna feels really, really guilty about the Jenna thing. She also starts like remembering her part in it, and I think that's also where a lot of the guilt stems from. Back in 6th grade, Hanna had scrolled a rumor about Jenna's boobs below the paper towel dispenser in the girls' bathroom. She spilled water on Jenna's seat in algebra, so Jenna would get a fake pee stain on her pants. She poked fun at the way Jenna would put on a fake French accent in French too. So when the paramedics had carried Jenna out of the treehouse, Hanna had felt sick. She'd been the one to agree to pranking Toby first, and in her head she thought, maybe if we prank Toby, we can prank Jenna too. It was like she willed this to happen. So when Allie had suggested, let's prank Toby, Hanna was like excited about this because she knew Allie hated Toby and hated Jenna, so this was kind of a way to prank both of them at the same time. And I think Hanna was definitely the one who wanted to be liked by Allie the most, and that was because Allie made fun of her weight a lot. Allie made her feel very inferior to Hanna, and Hanna never felt like as attractive as Allie or as wanted as Allie. And while Allie had a really strong relationship with Emily because they had feelings for each other, and Allie had a really strong relationship with Spencer because they were like rivals, Hanna was always trying to catch up, and so any way that she could impress Allie, she would do that. And that's why Hanna is one of my favorite characters, because I feel like there was always so much room for growth with her, and she improves and she regresses and she regrets things, and like the way that she was back then is so different from the way she is throughout the rest of the book series that it's very, very intriguing when we hear more information about her past. last. This is one of my favorite mugs. I painted this myself and it did not turn out how I wanted it to at all, but I'm still obsessed with it. So on page 277 of the second book, Flawless, we find out that Hanna saw Jenna one time after her accident, but none of the other girls has seen her since then. It was just a few weeks before Allie had gone missing. Allie had thrown an impromptu party in her backyard and all of Rosewood Day was there. All of the popular kids came. Hanna was finally having a real conversation with Sean. So yeah, she was obsessed with Sean and didn't think like Sean liked her back when she was chubby or fat or whatever she calls herself. Allie comes over to the conversation Hanna is having with Sean and makes a joke about Hanna making herself throw up. Yep. She does that. She actually does that. That's crazy. Sean gets really uncomfortable, obviously, and leaves. Hanna turned to Allie horrified. Why would you do that? Oh, Hanna, Allie said, whirling away. Can't you take a joke? She stomped to the other side of Allie's wraparound deck, having deep, angry breaths. When she looked up, she found herself staring right into Jenna Cavanaugh's face. Jenna was standing at the edge of her property wearing big sunglasses and carrying a white cane. Hanna's throat seized up. It was like seeing a ghost. She really is blind. Jenna stood very still on the curb. If she could have seen, she would have been looking at the big hole in Allie's side yard that they were digging for her family's 20-seat gazebo. So this is around the end of summer. Obviously, I mentioned 1 week before Allie had gone missing, the gazebo is being dug. The exact spot where years later, workers would find Allie's body. Hanna stared at her for a long time, and Jenna stared blankly back. Then it hit her. Back there was Sean. Hanna had taken Jenna's place, and Allie had taken Hanna's. There was no reason for Allie to tease Hanna other than the fact that she could. The realization struck Hanna so forcefully she had to grab onto the railing for balance. She looked at Jenna again. I'm so sorry, she mouthed to Jenna. Of course she didn't respond. She couldn't see. And I felt so bad for both of them in this scene because you can tell Hanna wants to be a good person. You can tell that she is sick of being bullied by Allie, and like, you know, there's that played out phrase too, like hurt people. Like Hanna only bullies people because Allie bullies her and because she sees Allie bullying people all the time and she thinks that's what she needs to do to be popular. And you can see her realize that like the way she's feeling is the exact way that she's made Jenna feel and she doesn't want to be that person. Okay, so now we're kind of gonna skip forward. If you watched the Toby Cavanaugh video, I would recommend watching the Toby Cavanaugh video if you haven't, but you'll know that for a while in this book, Emily especially, but all of the girls think that Toby is A. So go watch that video if you want like background on how that whole thing goes down. Emily and Toby like get into a really scary fight where Toby's trying to get into Emily's house and she's like hiding from him, and they're having this conversation through the glass door of her house. Emily thinks that she's accusing him of killing Allie, but he misunderstands. He thinks that she knows that he SA'd Jenna and he's expressing a lot of guilt over what happened, and he ends up ODing in the woods behind her house after that, and then his body is found. Of course, we find out that he was not A, although it really seems suspicious. It really did seem like he was A at the time, but he was not A. And this is when we see Jenna in real time. So this is the first real conversation they have with Jenna that's not like them just remembering flashbacks of her. Then Spencer noticed someone coming around the side yard and her heart sped up. It was Jenna Cavanaugh. She was dressed in a black t-shirt and skinny black jeans, and her black hair was piled up on her head. Her skin was still a brilliant snowy white, but her face was half hidden by oversized sunglasses. She held on a white cane in one hand and the harness of her golden retriever in the other. He led Jenna to the edge of the group. Jenna and her dog stopped right next to Hanna. Is Emily Fields here? Jenna turned in the direction of Emily's voice. This is yours. She held out a pink satin purse. Emily took it very carefully as if it were made of glass, and there's something you should read. Jenna reached into her pocket for a wrinkled piece of paper. It's from Toby. She had left her purse in Toby's car because they went to some dance together, and then on the way home she freaked out thinking that he was A and like jumped out of his car, and he wrote a letter for everyone in his family and also one specifically for Emily. I actually think that they did Toby really dirty because the way it was written, like Toby can't really have a redemption from that in my opinion, but if it was written a little bit differently and he was able to get a redemption, I think Emily Emily and him would have been a really interesting couple, although I don't like that she was written as a bisexual character. I think the impact of her as a gay character in the TV show was a lot better. I eventually want to do a whole video on this. I think maybe I said it in the Toby video that I didn't like that she was written as a bi character, and you know, some people didn't like that. I'm bisexual myself, and as much as it is nice to get the perspective from bi characters, I don't think that she was a well-written bi character, because every relationship she had with a man was just to be shocking. Like, it was shocking that we thought that he was A and then he OD'd in the woods and she didn't even really like him. And she has one other relationship with a man, spoiler alert, and she gets pregnant. He sucked, first of all. He wasn't even like that interesting of a character. I thought he was really boring. Obviously, it's juicy that she gets pregnant, and it's even juicier that the only LGBTQ character in the book, other than Maya and Allie, I guess, gets pregnant. And it kind of, I think, like, lost the momentum. Like, she came out and it was this huge big thing, and then she's like, oh wait, I do like this guy, and then she just gets pregnant. Obviously, I'm not saying that she can't be bi. Obviously, I'm not saying that bi characters are bad, like, at all. I'm just saying that the impact I felt of her being a gay character in the TV show, I felt on a deeper level than the way she was portrayed as bisexual in the book series. Just to be so extra clear, I do think that there is value in a character who comes out as gay and then realizes that they actually are bisexual, because I think that that is also a story that a lot of people experience in real life. But that doesn't change the fact that I still feel like her impact as a gay character was stronger without her being bisexual, and I think that is purely because of the male love interest that she had, and not because of her being a bisexual character. I think I'm just being extra cautious because someone really tried to twist my words the last time I brought this up, and like, I do really want to do a whole video talking about this so I can go more into depth on my feelings about it. But like, we do need more bisexual characters in media. I'm definitely not negating that. I don't even know why I went on a tangent about this. I just wanted to make it clear that like, they were kind of seeing each other romantically, but she wasn't really into him. And in case you were wondering, like, yeah, she does also like girls in the book series as well. Emily pushed her hair behind her ears and looked at Jenna. The sunglasses she wore stretched from her cheekbones to above her eyebrows, but Emily could just make out a few pinkish, wrinkled scars. Burn scars on her forehead. She thought of that night. The way Allie's house, it smelled like peppermint candles. The way Emily's mouth tasted like salt and vinegar chips. As she stood at the window watching Allie run across the cavanaugh's lawn, the boom of the firework, the paramedics climbing up to the treehouse's ladder, how Jenna's mouth made a rectangle. She was crying so hard. Jenna handed her the dirty, wrinkled piece of paper. They found this with him, she said, her voice cracking on the word him. He wrote things to all of us. Your part is somewhere in the middle. So the note was basically Toby saying like the guilt of what he did to Jenna was too much for him. She hands the note back to Jenna, says thank you. She says you're welcome. As Jenna turned to leave, Emily cleared her throat. Wait, she croaked. Jenna stopped. Emily swallowed hard. Everything Spencer just told her about Toby knowing and Allie lying. Oh yeah, by the way, Spencer finally told them like the whole situation of what her and Allie had witnessed and like spoke to him about. All the guilt she'd carried about Jenna for so many years, it all bubbled over. Jenna, I should apologize to you. We used to be so mean. The stuff we did, the names, whatever, it wasn't funny. Hanna stepped forward. She's totally right. It wasn't funny at all. Emily hadn't seen Hanna look so tortured in a long time, and you didn't deserve it, she added. Jenna stroked her dog's head. It's okay, she answered. Like, the fucking heart of this woman. She's been through fucking hell, and she's literally so forgiving. All she wants to do is like help too. Oh my god. I'm over it, she said. And I'm sorry about your accident too. I never got to tell you, Hanna said. She wanted to add, I'm sorry for what we all actually did, but she was too afraid. Jenna's chin trembled. It's not your fault. And anyway, it's not the worst thing that happened to me. She pulled on her dog's collar and walked back to the front yard. Humble fucking queen who deserves the world. That's all I have to say. And this is when Spencer fills the girls in on the fact that Allie saw Toby essaying Jenna. When Allie got to Toby's treehouse, Spencer explained, she saw Toby in the window and lit the firework, and then she saw Jenna was up there too. There was something very strange with Jenna's expression, and her shirt was unbuttoned. Then Allie saw Toby go over to Jenna and put his hand on her neck. Jenna looked terrified. Allie said she was so shocked she bumped the firework out of position. Aria says that maybe Jenna was happy when Toby got sent away, and that is all we have for what happened to Jenna in book 2, and we move on to book 3. In book 3, called Perfect, Emily actually wants to come clean to Wilden about the Jenna thing. Wilden is a whole other story. I actually love his character in the book series too. Like, they did him so fucking dirty in the TV show. like everyone that I love from the book series, they just made into a villain in the TV show. Like, we did not need that many villains. Let's be fucking for real. Hanna says, count me out. Anyway, Jenna is fine. Seriously, have you noticed the Gucci sunglasses she wears? You have to be on like a year-long waiting list for a pair of those. It's harder than getting a Birkin bag. That's literally all that that's literally all they say about Jenna in book 3, but it was so funny that I wanted to include it. And then in book 4, Unbelievable, on page 98, we get a really, really juicy scene. Aria decides that she's going to take an art class at Hollis College. The art teacher decides to turn off all of the lights in the room. The art teacher says, we all form an image of someone in our heads based on certain easy clues. The way someone's voice sounds, maybe the type of music someone likes, the things you know about the person's past, perhaps. But sometimes our judgments aren't right. In fact, sometimes they're quite wrong. Find the person nearest to you and hold hands. Try to imagine what your neighbor looks like just by the way their hands feel. Then we'll turn on the lights so you can sketch each other's portraits based on what you see in your mind. Aria fumbles around in the darkness to grab someone's hands. The hand was small and a bit cold and dry. A face began to form in her mind. First the pronounced cheekbones, then the bright blue eyes, long blonde hair, pink bow-shaped lips. She was thinking of Ali. Remember this. Very nice. Sabrina, the teacher, who looked exactly like her voice with long brown hair, big boobs, a fleshy stomach, and puny bird-like legs, said. She moved on to Aria's partner. That's beautiful, she murmured. Aria felt a pinch of annoyance. Why wasn't her drawing beautiful? Did someone draw better than she did? Impossible. Aria slowly turned, her eyes greedily assessing her partner's alleged beautiful sketch. And it actually was beautiful. The drawing looks nothing like Aria, but it was still much better rendering of a person than Aria could have done. Her eyes floated up to her partner's body. The girl wore a fitted pink top. Her hair was dark and wild, spilling around her shoulders. She had creamy, blemish-free skin. Then Aria saw the familiar upturned button nose and giant Gucci sunglasses. There was a sleeping dog and a blue canvas vest at the girl's feet. Aria's entire body turned to ice. I can't see what you drew, her partner said in a soft, sweet voice. She pointed to her seeing eye dog in explanation, but I'm sure it's great. Aria's tongue felt leaden in her mouth. Her partner was Jenna Cavanaugh. So much to unpack here, okay? She holds Jenna's hands in the dark, and the first thing that comes to mind is Ali. I'm not sure if that says anything about Jenna, or if it just says everything about Aria and like maybe what's on her mind. Maybe it's like a trauma response. I'm not really sure, but it is very fascinating, especially since Jenna and Ali don't look anything alike. But to picture the very person who hurt her is crazy. And we're also clued in on the fact that Jenna is an amazing artist. She doesn't need her sight to be better at art than Aria is, and Aria is instantly jealous of this. And that's a very interesting part of her character that we see a lot too, especially in the audiobook that came out a few years ago, The Liars, where we see them like 15 years in the future. Aria is like obsessed with the fact that she was not as successful as an artist as she wanted to be, and it's a huge insecurity for her. So obviously Aria is attending this art class with Jenna, and that's similar to what happens in the TV show. In the next art class that Aria goes to, she ends up telling Jenna that her name is Jessica because she doesn't want to give away the fact that it's Aria. Like, I think she thinks that Jenna hates the girls, or like maybe suspects that they were the ones that blinded her, or like whatever the fact may be.
I'm sorry, what is your name? Anita. Do you mind giving Jenna a little help, please?
But Jenna introduces herself as Jenna, obviously, and Aria then has like a flashback of when they used to call her Snow and like bully her and all this stuff, so now we feel the guilt and the shame from Aria as well as Hanna's character. Once when their class went to Longwood Orchards for apple picking, oh my god, this memory is the one that hit me the hardest. Ali had suggested they give Jenna an apple they dunked in the orchard's filthy women's toilet, just like the Wicked Witch gave Snow White a poisoned apple in the movie. Ali suggested that Aria give Jenna the apple. She always made the others do her dirty work. This apple is special, Aria had said to Jenna, holding the fruit outstretched. Listening to Ali snicker behind her, the farmer told me it was from the sweetest tree, and I wanted to give it to you. Jenna's face had been so surprised and touched. Are you fucked, bro? As soon as she took a big juicy bite though, Ali had laughed. You ate an apple that's been peed on, toilet breath. Jenna had stopped to let the apple chunk fall out of her mouth. That's so fucking mean. So later on in this book, Aria is jealous to find out that Jenna's paintings are going to be in an art show and hers aren't. She's annoyed that Jenna can paint better than her even though Jenna can't see. Obviously Jenna is really good at art and music in the TV show, so this is kind of the same as well. This time they're going to make masks of each other's faces, and I find this very fascinating because there's just like a theme of masks throughout both the book series and the TV show, and because Jenna is blind, adding that like added factor of her like touching Aria adds so much tension because we know she can't see Aria's face, but the more she spends time with her, the more she touches her, the more she talks to her, like it's adding this tension of, is Jenna gonna find out that this is Aria? In the TV show they don't do the masks, but they do the whole like pottery thing. I really liked in the show how Jenna talked about her accident and how she like described the light coming through the vase and how it reminded her of when she would swim underwater.
I used to swim a lot. I loved to glide along the bottom and turn around and look up. And the sunlight on the surface would break into a million pieces like beads, and as you got closer, the light would bounce and it would dance.
I think in the show that gave her character a lot more dimension. It helped us like empathize with her. So but we didn't really need that as much in the book series because we already empathize with her. So Jenna asks Aria if she wants to work with her, obviously thinking that this is the girl Jessica who she like made up. Jenna's being super nice to her, trying to be her friend, asking her lots of questions. Aria pretends that she's some girl that plays field hockey. So Jenna starts talking about her old school and is like, oh, I didn't really like the field hockey playing girls in my school. Like, they never wanted to do anything new unless they saw it on the cover of Vogue. And Aria's like, oh, there were field hockey girls at your school in Philly, aka the School for the Blind in Philadelphia. So Jenna's like, how do you know that I went to a school in Philly? Like, we're just meeting each other. And Aria kind of brushes it off. Jenna's like, no, I actually meant Rosewood Day. I wouldn't have let that go. Just saying, it's really fucking weird, but whatever. And then she mentions that she's actually going back to Rosewood Day this year, and obviously makes things more complicated for them. Jenna starts laying the plaster over Aria's face. Aria, like, sort of is enjoying the conversation with Jenna and feels like she can trust her enough to talk about her parents' divorce. I think that's a very interesting detail because she seems kind of stressed with Jenna overall, like, so much so that she feels like she has to lie about her identity, but, like, clearly she doesn't feel threatened by her. Or maybe she just feels like this new identity she made is, like, strong enough that Jenna's not going to figure out who she is. But as Jenna keeps, like, placing the plaster on her face and touching her face, Aria is, like, starting to freak out a little bit more. Jenna, like, mentions that Aria is frowning, and then she's like, oh my god, if Jenna could see that I'm frowning, she could probably tell other things about my face as well. She might be able to feel what Aria looks like. Just then, she looked up. A startled, uncomfortable look settled on Jenna's face as if she had figured it out too. Aria's like, oh my god, she knows who I am. She runs out of the room, and then she ends up getting an A message. When she looks back into the room, Jenna is holding onto her cell phone, and she's like, oh my god, Jenna is A. She just sent me this text message. They will think anybody's A, but I would probably be suspicious of literally everyone too if this was happening to me. We don't see anything of Jenna for a little bit until page 249. Aria is really worried about A at this time, and she's trying to get out of a storm. So she walks into the Hollis art building. This is like after hours and everything. At this point, she had told the cops about A, which is a no-no. You're not supposed to do that, but I'm glad she did. They were wondering if Aria could think of anyone that would be like out to get her enough to send her these text messages. The only person she can think of that might be out to get her is Jenna because of the Jenna thing. But again, she's not like sure how much Jenna knows. So Aria is in the Hollis art building and she's looking at Jenna's work. She's convinced that this work is way too fucking perfect for somebody who's blind. Meaning that she thinks that Jenna actually isn't blind and that she's faking it, which is pretty sickening, being that you're the one that blinded her. Like, you're gonna blind her and then you're gonna accuse her of not being blind. I know that's kind of ironic because in the TV show at a certain point she does fake being blind. She was also the bad guy in the TV show. It's not the same thing. So the storm is getting like really, really bad at this point and all of the lights go off. Super spooky vibes. When there's a flash of lightning, she sees a girl. It was Jenna. Of course it was Jenna. Aria completely passes out. Like, that's how scared she is of her at this point in time. And when she wakes up, Jenna and her dog are just like sitting next to her on the floor comforting her. And this is how good of a person Jenna Cavanaugh is, okay? this girl literally passes out of fear from her, and she's like just sitting on the floor with her, like waiting for her to wake up. Aria jumps away and is like, don't hurt me. Jenna's like, you're safe, you had a panic attack. She's like, I'm here just to pick up my sketchbook, but I heard you in the room, I came in, and when you came in, you passed out, like not sure what happened there. She also says that she was out for half an hour. Aria starts to, rightfully so, feel guilty for being afraid of Jenna, especially when Jenna has been nothing but kind to her this whole time. She's like, I have to come clean to you, Jenna. I'm actually Aria, not Jessica. Jenna's like, I know, I can recognize your voice, girl. Why did you lie? And honestly, that's also showing how nice Jenna is. Like, she knew that Aria was lying to her and she didn't even call her out on it. She was just like, okay, that's so sad. Like, that makes me want to cry, actually. And obviously, this is a major difference from the TV show too, when Jenna figured out who Aria was by her voice and got really, really pissed about it.
And the light's soft and it's Aria. Really, is that Aria? Blow out the candle. Jenna, blow it out!
Aria's like, I know you don't remember much about your accident, but there's also something about your accident that I need to come clean about. You guys, this is where it gets really, really juicy. Jenna's like, that's a complete lie. I remember everything about the accident. She says that her and Alison set up the entire thing as a team together. She was in on it. Yeah, Jenna Cavanaugh was part of the Jenna Thing. She did it on purpose. This is what she says verbatim, okay? My stepbrother used to set off fireworks from his treehouse roof all the time. My parents kept warning him that it was dangerous. He might mess up and set a firework through our house and cause a fire. They said the next time he set off one of them, they were going to send him to a boarding school, and that was final. So Ali agreed to steal fireworks out of Toby's stash and make them look like Toby was the one who lit them. My parents were already mad at Toby for something anyway. I wanted him out of my life as soon as possible. He wasn't a good stepbrother. Only things went wrong. I was with Toby in his treehouse that night, and just before it happened, he looked down and said angrily, "There's someone on our lawn." I looked down, pretending to be surprised, and there was a flash of light. And then there was this horrible pain in my eyes. My face, it felt like they just melted away. I think I passed out afterward. Ali told me that she'd forced Toby to take the blame. I'm glad she did. I didn't want her to get in trouble, and it kind of worked out the way I wanted. Toby left. He was out of my life. Wow. So let's do a quick recap here. Jenna's getting essayed by Toby. Jenna and Ali are somehow friends with each other. We don't know like how or why yet. Ali agrees to help Jenna get Toby out of town. So they light a firework, framing it on him because his parents don't want him to light fireworks anymore. Ali lights off the firework into the treehouse instead of near the treehouse and blinds Jenna. So this kind of, like if we look back on Ali's story, we're like, okay, so you already knew what Toby was doing to Jenna. So you didn't see anything suspicious through the window that shocked you so bad that you accidentally lit the firework into the treehouse. You just lit the firework into the treehouse for fun? Aria is completely in disbelief about this because obviously she had no idea. She has felt guilty for the Jenna thing this whole time, thinking that like it was just a prank gone wrong. And that again is just showing like how cruel Ali is, but how complex of a character she is, because in the same breath, she's going to help Jenna get Toby out of town, but also blind her and also make her friends feel guilty, like thinking that they all did this terrible thing when she could have just easily told them the truth. She asks if Alison and Jenna were friends. She says that they weren't close friends, but they did relate to each other because they both had sibling problems. So, what kind of sibling problems was Ali having? At this point, we think that her only sibling is Jason. We know that's not actually true though, but that's a topic for another video. Jenna says there was somebody else that night who also saw what happened, but she can't explain who it was. And this is why I needed to talk about the Jenna thing before I talk about some other topics I want to talk about, because my jaw was on the fucking floor when I figured out who was the witness to the Jenna thing. So in this moment, Jenna runs out of the room, and that's all we get from her in the 4th book. But in the 5th book, Wicked, we do get like a couple moments where we see Jenna here and there, but this was her big one. Like that was the big story, the big juicy goss that she needed to drop before she like kind of disappeared. Oh, disappeared isn't the right word either. I kind of forgot. Hold on. So in the 5th book, like they're still really creeped out by Jenna, which makes me sad because like after Aria heard all this lore from Jenna, and Jenna was like so vulnerable with her, like to still view Jenna as like this scary, creepy person just like isn't really fair. So there's a few moments where like the girls like see her or like run into her, and then Jenna ends up appearing on TV. She says that she hopes Ali's murder trial gets wrapped up really quickly because it's bringing bad press to Rosewood. I thought that was kind of random of her. This is around the time where everyone thinks that Ian Thomas is the one who killed Ali, and I am working on a video about Ian Thomas's arraignment as well. And then in book 6, Killer, Emily sees Maya St. Germain, who we know is a love interest of Emily's, and Jenna together. So this is kind of after, like, not to spoil it, but like this is kind of like after Maya and Emily happen. So this is her ex-girlfriend and they're not really on good terms. Maya is pissed at Emily at this time because Emily had kissed somebody else. So when she sees Emily in the hallway, she looks livid. She then whispers something into Jenna's ear and looks over at Emily with a sneer on her face. I wish we could have gotten more detail on Jenna and Maya and like what was happening there, but it kind of gets dropped. On page 127 of the same book, Aria suspiciously sees Jenna at the base of her driveway. She calls out to Jenna and is like, "Oh, so like strange to see you here. I just moved into this house." Jenna's like, "I know that already." Clearly she's there because she knew Aria lived there, and she has this like really guilty look on her face. She's clearly there to see Aria. Aria's like, "Are you okay?" Jenna says no, but then turns away to leave. Aria calls after her, but Jenna keeps walking away. Clearly she had something to say. It was kind of weird and suspicious, but I think she wanted to like apologize for that stormy night where she didn't say who was the other witness, because some information came out about this person that was really damaging. I'm gonna go over that in another video, I promise. It's just so juicy that I don't want to like get into that right now. I think that's what she wanted to talk about, but she didn't, unfortunately. Also, I feel like Aria could have just chased after her, but she didn't. On page 136, Emily gets an A message with a photo. It's a picture of Ali in her backyard, like before she went missing, and she's wearing a field hockey uniform. But there's also 2 other girls in the picture. One is a girl with blonde hair, but she can't really see her face very well, and she kind of assumes that it's Naomi. Remember Naomi and Riley? There's this whole plot where Naomi and Riley was friends with Ali, and then Ali randomly drops them and becomes friends with the 4 girls. And then after Ali goes missing and Hanna becomes friends with Mona, Naomi and Riley are like their rivals. I talked a bit about them in the Lucas and Hanna video. It's later revealed who it is, but again, I'm not gonna like get into that. But the 3rd girl in the photo is Jenna Cavanaugh. This just proves to Emily that at the time, before Ali had gone missing, Ali and Jenna were in fact friends. And it's interesting because the 3rd person that's in that photo, nobody knows who it is except for Ali, Ali's family, and Jenna. Jenna was the only person in Rosewood who actually knew of this person's existence. And I will get into that in an Ali focused video at some point. I do have a script on that as well, so it's ready to go if you want it. I'm so fucking rosy, and this is exactly why I didn't put on any blush. I literally like licked off all my lip gloss apparently. I'm obsessed with this Summer Fridays lip gloss. It's so cute. So there's a subplot in this book where Aria has a crush on Jason, Ali's brother, which happens in the TV show too, but like the storyline, there's a topic for another video. The storyline of Jason and Aria is very fucking funny in the book series. So the girls keep going back to the thing that Jenna had said about Ali and her having the same sibling problem. So they're really looking into Jason and thinking like something suspicious was up with them. But Aria specifically is thinking that maybe Jenna made this up. And this really pissed me off because, yeah, obviously Aria's gonna not want to think bad things about Jason because she really likes Jason. But Aria was the one out of all the girls that had formed this connection with Jenna, and she's going to accuse her of lying. Pissed me off. I love Jenna with all my fucking heart. But she thinks that maybe this was why Jenna was at her house acting all suspicious. Like maybe she wanted to come clean about lying about Jason. That's not the case. I'm just gonna say that right now. She also thinks that maybe Jenna could be A, so we're back to this. On page 231, Emily sees a flicker of someone in the Cavanaugh's window. It's a tall guy in a white t-shirt. Suddenly, Jenna appears next to this guy in a black t-shirt and plaid PJ bottoms. They're talking to each other, and then suddenly her body language changes. She gets very defensive, and then the guy starts saying something else, and then Jenna lowers her head as if she's like ashamed about something. Emily sees her face contort into an expression that she can't understand. It could be sorrow, worry, or fear, and then Jenna walks away. The guy seems really flustered. He comes out of the house, hands curled into tight, angry fists. Who was it? Jenna Dilaurentis. I think I need to do a Jason video. I think I need to do a Jason video because now I'm intrigued. I can't even remember like what the point of this was. like why, what were they talking about? I don't remember. Don't ask me. I can't remember. So the Radley is throwing this huge party. Basically, it's turning from a mental institution into a hotel. So I kind of love that they did that in the TV show, but in the TV show, Radley was the main mental institution. In this one, like Radley is a mental institution, but the one they always go to is actually called the Preserve at Addison Stevens, and Radley does not have as big of a like role in anything as it did in the TV show. Obviously, you only need one or the other. I don't know why there's two in the book series to begin with, so they just went with Radley in the TV show. So Emily is like going through all of the rooms during this party. She finds an old book with patient names in it. She sees that Jason's name is in this book. She's wondering if he was an outpatient, and she's wondering if maybe that's what Jenna meant about Ali also having sibling problems. She's also wondering if maybe Jenna knew about this and Jason was really like angry that Jenna knew and was trying to like convince her not to tell, and maybe that's what they were arguing about. She's trying to figure out like what the conflict between Jason and Jenna is. Actually, I think I know what it is, but I want to talk about that in the Jason video. At the end of Heartless, which is 7th book, the girls are informed that not only has A been found, the identity of A, but this is the same person who killed Alison Dilaurentis. So it's not Ian like they thought it was. Allegedly, it's this man named Billy Ford. This is a whole thing. Like randomly, this guy named Billy Ford shows up. We have like no prior knowledge of him. He's just found with like all of this evidence in his truck. And he supposedly was one of the workers who was digging the hole in Allie's yard. And so like that's how he's connected to it. He's described as being really creepy looking with a gold front tooth. Investigators think that he stalked Allie because they found all these photos of Allie in his van. There were also messages from like Ian's name to other people. So the girls were receiving a lot of messages from Ian, and it turns out that it wasn't actually Ian. Basically, they think that this guy Billy Ford was trying to frame Ian for the murder of Allie, and then it clicks. A few days ago, Spencer had seen this man leaving Jenna Cavanaugh's house. Lots of people leaving Jenna Cavanaugh's house, apparently. He was giving Jenna this like very predatory look, and she remembered thinking like that's so creepy, and Jenna can't even see it because she's blind. This is when we find out, and when everyone else finds out, that Jenna Cavanaugh is dead. He supposedly killed Jenna. They found her in a trench in her backyard where the plumbers were replacing one of the burst pipes. And that is the last time that we see Jenna. I don't know if she's like mentioned in other books, maybe, but that's the end of Jenna Cavanaugh's story. That's the true story of the Jenna Thing. I think the Jenna Thing is way more interesting in the book series. I think that the whole dynamic makes more sense, and I wish that they would have kind of taken that into the TV show. I feel like there could have been a way to redeem both Jenna and Toby without one of them having to be like solely the bad guy. So they think Billy Ford was the one that killed Jenna, but I'm gonna tell you right now it wasn't. I just can't tell you who it is in this video because I just don't want to steal my thunder in like my other videos. I was so fucking devastated when Jenna died. Like I just feel like that was not necessary. Like she deserved so much better as a character. The fact that she was essayed by Toby. She clearly did not have a very good relationship with her family. She clearly didn't have any friends. Ali bullied her. Ali blinded her when this was like her escape plan to get away from her stepbrother. She had to go to a school for the blind. She tried to come back. Everyone thinks she's creepy. Everyone thinks she's terrible. And then she's murdered? Be so fucking for real. Like, she deserved so much better. Justice for Jenna Cavanaugh. I think I feel the worst for her. Like, out of every other character in this book series. Like, she truly deserved better. If there was anything I like alluded to in this video that I was like, I can't talk about it, but you want to hear about it, comment down below and I will do my best to get a video on that topic up soon. If you have any thoughts or feelings on the Pretty Little Liars universe, Jenna Kavanaugh, Toby Kavanaugh, whatever, let me know. I had so much fun with this. I can't wait to talk more about Pretty Little Liars and keep coming up with these videos, and I hope you're enjoying them as well. Goodbye!